What might appear, at first glance, to be merely a quotidian scene in a family bathroom, two children engaged in their morning ablutions, actually encapsulates a profound commentary on the nature of societal transformation. Not until Dr. Sarah Thompson began analyzing the video footage for her groundbreaking study, Micro-Revolutions, The Role of Daily Rituals in Systemic Social Change, did the full implications of what they had achieved become apparent. The bathroom, with its methodically arranged elements, had transformed into what anthropologist Dr. Marcus Chen would later term a locus of cultural transmission. The blue-tiled walls, each tile a perfect square in a larger matrix, served as an unconscious metaphor for their experiment's fractal nature, individual actions combining to create larger patterns of change. Emma, resplendent in her pink sleeveless shirt, stood by the sink demonstrating their morning routine to a visiting film crew from the World Health Organization. Her green toothbrush moved in precise circles as she explained their process with the unaffected eloquence that only a child can muster. Beside her, Tom, wrapped in his striped blue bathrobe, added his own commentary while maintaining perfect brushing form. Little did we know, Sarah had written in her latest journal submission to the International Review of Behavioral Sciences that our attempt to establish a simple morning routine would catalyze what we now recognize as a paradigm shift in approaches to public health initiatives. The bathroom's carefully curated environment told its own story. 3 wicker baskets perched precisely on the shelf behind Tom, what Dr. Martinez had dubbed the Trinity of Order, a blue liquid soap dispenser standing sentinel by the chrome faucet, and a white cup housing the family's toothbrushes, 2 adult ones, pink and blue, alongside a fresh tube of toothpaste. Each element, while seemingly mundane, played its role in what behavioral economists would later term the architecture of habit formation. "Watch this part," Emma called out excitedly to the WHO representative. "We've added fractions to our counting game." Her enthusiasm perfectly illustrated what Dr. Thompson had termed the joy learning nexus in her research. The shower curtain, with its geometric pattern of blue squares, swayed gently in the morning breeze, creating what poet-in-residence Jennifer Martinez would later describe as a dance of symmetry and chance. The patterns seemed to echo the structured yet fluid nature of their experimental approach to behavioral modification. "Isn't it remarkable," Michael had mused during last week's TED Talk preparation, "how the most profound innovations often emerge from the most ordinary spaces?" The chrome faucet gleamed in agreement, reflecting fragments of morning light across the blue tiles like scattered thoughts seeking coherence. Tom, having completed his routine with characteristic precision, carefully returned his blue toothbrush to its place in the white cup. "Mom," he said thoughtfully, "Sarah's brother James has started teaching our routine to his whole kindergarten class." The ripple effect they had theorized about in the early stages of their research had manifested in ways they could never have predicted. The bathroom, with its clean lines and organized spaces, had become what sociologist Dr. Rachel Waters would term a crucible of change. In her forthcoming book, Small Spaces, Big Changes: The Architecture of Social Evolution. Each element, from the meticulously maintained blue tiles to the carefully arranged wicker baskets, spoke to the power of intentional design in facilitating behavioral transformation. The genius of it lies in its simplicity, Dr. Martinez had observed during the last international conference. "While we've been constructing elaborate theoretical frameworks, these children have demonstrated how organic behavioral modification can cascade through social networks with remarkable efficiency. Emma's voice cut through Sarah's reflections. Mom, can we show them our new song about hygiene heroes? The request perfectly illustrated what they had termed spontaneous innovation within structured parameters in their research methodology. The morning sun continued its journey across the bathroom, creating ever-shifting patterns on the blue tiles. These patterns, Sarah reflected, mirrored the dynamic nature of their experiment, structured yet evolving, planned yet organic. What we're witnessing, Michael had explained to the Board of Education, is not just the establishment of good dental hygiene habits, but the emergence of a new paradigm in public health education. The chrome faucet caught the light at that moment, sending prismatic reflections dancing across the walls like ideas spreading through a population. Tom, ever the methodical observer, had noticed something interesting. Mom, have you seen how everyone in Sarah's family has started organizing their bathrooms like ours? This observation would later form the basis for a fascinating study on the unconscious adoption of environmental cues in behavioral modification. The blue tiles, each one a perfect square in a larger matrix, had become what architectural psychologist Dr. James Morrison termed subliminal reinforcement of ordered thinking. The geometric patterns on the shower curtain added another layer to this environmental psychology, creating what he called a symphony of structured space. If you consider the implications, Sarah had written in her latest paper, we're not just teaching children about dental hygiene. We're introducing them to concepts of order, responsibility, and community impact through lived experience rather than direct instruction. Emma, finishing her demonstration for the WHO team, beamed with pride. Her green toothbrush had become more than a tool for dental hygiene, it was, as cultural anthropologist Dr. Lisa Chan would note, a wand of transformation, turning mundane routine into meaningful ritual. The wicker baskets on the shelf, each serving its designated purpose, represented what organizational psychologist Dr. Thomas Brown called the physical manifestation of mental order. Their presence, while seemingly insignificant, contributed to what he termed the environmental psychology of success. Mom, Tom called out, interrupting Sarah's train of thought, can we share our routine with the children at the community center? Their teachers said they've been asking about our special system. This organic expansion of their influence perfectly illustrated what sociologists were now calling the Thompson effect, the natural propagation of positive behavioral patterns through peer networks. The bathroom, with its carefully considered elements, had become a living laboratory for studying what Dr. Martinez termed the architecture of change. Each component, from the blue liquid soap dispenser to the geometric patterns on the shower curtain, played its role in creating what she called an environment conducive to transformation. As the morning light continued to play across the blue tiles, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them here. What had begun as a simple attempt to establish good habits had evolved into a model for understanding how small, intentional changes could precipitate larger societal transformations. The beauty of it, Michael had noted during their last research presentation, lies in its scalability. The principles we've discovered in this small bathroom have implications for everything from public health initiatives to educational reform. Emma and Tom, having completed their demonstration for the WHO team, stood proudly by the sink. Their reflection in the mirror seemed to symbolize what Dr. Waters had termed the duality of change, individual transformation reflecting and reinforcing collective evolution. The chrome faucet gleamed, the blue tiles shone, and the wicker baskets stood in silent testimony to the power of thoughtful design in facilitating behavioral change. In this ordinary bathroom, extraordinary changes had taken root, spreading outward like ripples in a pond, touching lives far beyond its blue-tiled walls. "What we've created here," Sarah had written in the conclusion of her latest paper, "is not just a system for teaching dental hygiene. We've developed a model for understanding how micro-level changes in daily routines can cascade into macro-level societal transformations." As the morning drew to a close, the bathroom stood ready for another day of what Dr. Chin had dubbed micro-revolutionary acts. The blue tiles, the geometric patterns on the shower curtain, the carefully arranged wicker baskets, each element played its part in this ongoing experiment in social change. Perhaps, Michael had mused during their last evening discussion, the most profound lesson we've learned is that true transformation doesn't require grand gestures or complex systems. Sometimes, all it takes is a blue-tiled bathroom, 2 children with toothbrushes, and the courage to believe that small changes can make a big difference. The morning sun cast its final patterns across the bathroom, creating what poet Jennifer Martinez would describe as a dance of light and purpose. In this space, where the mundane met the meaningful, a new understanding of social change had emerged, one brushstroke, one smile, one morning at a time.